Michael Allen, former National Security Council Senior Director. So there's all of that. Plus, in the New York Times, I'm reading this from a state broadcaster saying that I have never seen images like these before in my life, saying it was the worst kind of crackdown that he had ever seen. You hearing, and if the United States were to help, where's the best place to do that and how?
Well, with the sentiment expressed, these are incredibly difficult massacres that are going on. The people of Iran are being struck down. The regime has its back against the wall, and I think they are really everybody to the maximum. And I think this puts President Trump's pledges to do something front and center. I think what they're doing is trying to figure out what would be the target set. Would it be instruments of Iranian repression, like the police or the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps? These are, just in a word, the thugs of the regime, who are the ones in the past who've been on motorcycles and now are, from the tops of buildings. So I think this is a crucial moment in this would-be revolution, and I think the United States may need to get involved to put this to a tipping point.
Do other countries...
Folks, just to bring you up to speed, what we're seeing in Iran is a cascade of aggression by the civilians against the regime. And this is all a result, let's not kid ourselves, of really Donald Trump's foreign policy, or as he likes to call it, the Don Road Doctrine. Because the truth of the matter is that what Donald Trump has been doing around the world has been showing regimes just like those in the leaders in Iran that if you're not pro-freedom and if you're not pro-aligning with the United States, then we're against you. And make no mistake that Donald Trump has assets in Iran right now and is funding this color revolution. The CIA's been involved in the Middle East for decades and will continue to be. But what we're seeing here is this revolution at a level that we've never seen before. And we've seen the response from the leaders in Iran at a level that we've never seen before. So we are at a tipping point, and this is going to be critical to pay attention because this the role that Iran has been playing for decades as far as being a disruptor and an agent of destruction, an agent of funding for bad people that want not only our allies, but our own interests disrupted. This is absolutely a critical piece of the puzzle for Donald Trump's foreign policy here in just the coming days and weeks. This is not going to continue at this pace. This will break. And I think what Donald Trump is saying and will be saying later in this clip is that we're behind the people that want freedom, right? He's not installing an agent or into overthrowing this regime. He's into supporting the people that want their freedom back in Iran. And that's part of the Don Road Doctrine.
In the region, want the countries that we consider allies, would they want us to act here?
I think it's one of these things when public, they'll say, no, we don't want you to, but in private, as long as it's going to be effective, I think they're for it. No one is with the Iranian regime so much anymore, especially in its decline. So, I that they would be happy to see it go. I think they just want it to be decisive, and I think that's what President Trump and the National Security Council are going through, how to make this an effective regime change strike.
I want to just point this out. You used to do legislative affairs, and you also understand politics very well. Ken Martin's the head of the DNC. He put this out on X on Sunday. From my birthplace of Minneapolis, people are rising up against systems that wield violence without accountability. Solidarity across borders means opposing authoritarian power everywhere and defending the right to live free from fear and state violence. How's that going to go on Capitol Hill?
That's just outrageous. I mean, that's trying to, the United States under Donald Trump is the moral equivalence of this evil regime that's persecuted and killed tens of thousands of people. So that is way out of bounds, and I don't think it's going to go down well at all.
Okay, let me take you to part of the world, and that would be Venezuela. We talked on Monday on Perino on Politics, but there's been some developments. A handful of U.S. citizens who were imprisoned under the Maduro regime have been released. Can more be released, and quickly?
Many
Absolutely.
more need to be released. And frankly, this is probably the easiest thing that the Venezuelan regime, if you will, can do for President Trump right now. I don't think they're in the mood to make material concessions quite yet on, let's call it migration or the cartels or any of the issues that we're really interested in. So I think this is an easy symbolic way for the Venezuelans to placate the president, but the president's still got leverage over them. He's got all these Navy ships in the region, and of course he's got we're interdicting oil tankers constantly. So I think this is an exercise in leverage to try and get them to do the right thing. But the Venezuelans are starting with the lowest hanging fruit.
I think he's right. And what you're seeing again in Venezuela is a total capitulation by the leaders that are still there. They know that it's in their best interest to give Donald Trump what he wants. But let's again take a step back and connect Venezuela. Let's connect Iran and Greenland, for that matter. That's been discussed a lot lately. When you see the stance that Donald Trump has taken, which is he is against despots, he is against regimes that are constricting their civilians. That would be the Iran example. When you look at Venezuela, obviously we know that Maduro, I mean, he had this even under Biden's DOJ. He had an indictment for narco-terrorism. So any Democrat that says that Donald Trump just enforcing that alone is, making up his foreign policies, just lying, quite frankly. But when you look at the importance of Venezuela and being able to control a narco state that, quite frankly, was going rogue and was building relationships with Russia and China, was breaking oil mandates that they can't be selling it to Iran, they can't be selling oil to China, and they can't be selling oil to Russia. And they were doing just that. So the reality of the matters is that, again, going back to Iran, what we're seeing in that country is at a level we've not seen before. You're seeing the prior prince, the gentleman who was the son of the past leader before Khamenei took over in Iran. He's been very vocal in saying that he wants to get back and is being asked by the people of Iran to lead the country. Donald Trump would certainly support that. There's no doubt about that, because stabilizing Iran means that ultimately the evildoer and the instigator of bad stuff in the Middle East is now quelled. And I think it's, again, less about Donald Trump calling for regime change. It is absolutely more about Donald Trump supporting people that want freedom and want to get away from the constriction that the regime has been placing on them. So more to come here. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe to America First Alerts. We're bringing you America First news every single day. And if you've yet done so, please do like this video and comment down below. What do you think about what is going on in Iran, and where do you think this is going? And is Donald Trump ultimately going to have his hands forced in trying to put a little oomph, a little effort behind the efforts of the civilians who are behind this uprising? Let me know in the comments down below, and we'll see you in the next video.
We won!
Okay, let's go.